Hey, what's up, guys? Thank you so much for jumping in on Beautifully Courageous, where we're going to have honest conversations about marriage, ministry, and parenting.
Today, we're going to talk about 4 things that we did not anticipate happening when our little girl started kindergarten.
Here at the door. 4 weeks ago, we sent our oldest, our little girl, to kindergarten. And this was really crazy for you because you've been home with her every day since the day we brought her home from the birthing center. So while there were plenty of things that people kind of warned us about, and it was obvious it was going to be an emotional time because she's a little girl, our only girl, and she's the oldest, and she's going to kindergarten, there were definitely some things that we didn't anticipate happening. So why don't you kind of lead off with that?
So I've been home since day one, and many that know me just know that I'm not an emotional person. My mom would say that I don't have much of a heart sometimes because it takes a lot to make me cry. It takes a lot to hurt me. So for me, I did not anticipate the emotional side of this. And I began to get into the Word, and I really began to try to prepare myself. And the closer the day got, the more anxious I became. And I started messaging a few people just saying, is there any tips or tricks you could give me for what's to come? Because I just am really starting to feel anxious about this. Yeah. And there are no books out there. There's nothing to prepare you for what's coming, for the day that you send your baby into a school of people you've never met, you've never seen, other than open house. Yeah. And so for me, I had to just trust that I had just given her the right instincts and the right values to send her into that building. And every single day, it just got harder and harder for me emotionally. Open house was incredibly difficult, seeing her at her desk, knowing that this is the place that she's going to spend more time awake than she is at home. Yeah. And so I came home and I cried about that, and it tore me up quite a bit. Yeah. And then it was Monday morning. Mm-hmm. A Monday morning.
Monday.
So our school that she's going to got delayed. So a normal kindergartner starts on staggered days and only goes a few days, and then you just kind of work your way into it. For us, she started at 8:25 and she got out at 3:35, and she did that 5 days a week the first week of school. And so we got to walk her in the first day, and I was like, I'm good. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna be good. And I got into the building, and it was okay. And then we sat her at her desk, and I just had to run out the classroom, and I just lost my mind, and I cried and I cried. But I think the thing that I didn't anticipate was the way that I deal with my emotions is I stiff arm people. I stiff arm Josh. I stiff arm my mom. I've always done that. And so as bad as I needed my husband, I pushed him further away. And so I didn't anticipate what that would be like, what this emotional side would be like, how to cope with the emotions.
How to process.
Yeah, how to process it. That's a good word. How to process those emotions of sending your first child somewhere that you're not familiar with.
Yeah. And I would say that I think the thing that we learned is even if we had been prepared by a book or by people, friends, and people who have been there, done that, it still wouldn't have prepared us for the emotion, the initial emotion. Yeah. For me, I kind of had my moment at open house. We came back, and so I had my emotional time then. And leading up to Monday, we kind of joked around about me taking off work just to be here for her, because not only was our daughter started kindergarten, but then the very next day, both of our boys were going to preschool for the very first time. So she was about to go from being home every day with all 3 kids to being by herself for at least 2 or 3 days a week.
Well, they had already started, but it would be the first day that I would be by myself. Everybody going to school, and then me to kind of fend for myself and not have to worry about the kids. Yeah. And so I did. I put on the calendar that you would be taken off of work. And a couple of months in advance, I just, like I said, those anxieties really started settling in, and I was like, okay, I'm going to need Josh to take off work. Yeah. But he missed that, and I don't think
Right,
he's
right.
he's afraid to. That's kind of, we're going to talk about that. Is
Yeah.
he missed it, and when we got home, and I literally came in the door and I just curled up in a ball, and I really lost my mind. I just started crying because I missed her so much, and I could just cry now thinking about it.
Yeah.
And he just kind of looked at me, and he came and hugged me. And then the way that I just pushed people away, I said, well, I'm going to Tissues and Tea to be with all the other moms, because he was already dressed for work and I know he wasn't going to stay home with me. I didn't want to make him feel guilty for not taking off of work. But at the same time, I was kind of frustrated and upset with him for not taking off of work.
The thing that Brooke didn't anticipate was, even though we knew the flood of emotions would come, it hit her in a way that she never really thought. And then the thing I didn't anticipate is, even though I knew she was going to be emotional, and we joked around about a couple things and even wrote it on the calendar, I still missed the opportunity to be there for her as a husband and as a comforter. When I attempted, like she said, I kind of got the stiff arm. And like I mentioned just earlier, I had kind of already dealt with it over the weekend from open house and leading up to it. And Lainey woke up so excited about school. I didn't want to do anything to throw her off because she was so excited.
Yeah.
And she's been that way every morning. Like, she's not been the kid where we've had to like get up. Like, she's up before we are and dressed, ready to go. So anyway, the initial move that I made to try to comfort Brooke, I kind of got the stiff arm. And so I took it as, like me, she's already dealt with it. Knowing Brooke's history, she doesn't like to be coddled when she's really upset. She wants to kind of deal with it in her own space. I let her. And it was almost a week later before I realized, or before I was at least aware that something's up. Like, Brooke's not the same.
He kept saying, are you okay? Are you okay? And in my mind, I was screaming, no, I'm not okay. Like, are you an idiot? Of course I'm not okay.
Right.
Our daughter just started kindergarten. I've never had this much time to myself. And our boys are in preschool. I don't know what to do with myself. Of course I'm not okay. You're not hearing me and my inside screaming out. Although, yes, I am pushing you away. And as the days went, 3 or 4 days probably passed by, and I just pushed him further and further away. So,
And I let you.
yeah, and he did. Yeah.
And I think the thing that we were doing is we were communicating, but we weren't really communicating. We were surface level. Like, are you okay? I'm okay. But not really. And rather than me trying to pursue her heart and really dig into her emotion and her mental state and everything that was going on inside of her, I just was like, okay. Yeah, because I was dealing with it in a whole different way, but I was dealing with it as well. And again, I allowed how I was processing and handling it to dictate how I assumed that she was.
Yeah.
And that wasn't the case.
It never is.
And so we've talked a little bit about how she handled it and how I handled it and our emotions. But I would say the third thing that we didn't anticipate was Lainey and how she handled it and how quickly she acclimated to kindergarten.
For so long, she was constantly like, I'm ready to go to school. I'm ready to go to school. She jumped into preschool so quickly. And I think, piggybacking on what we had just talked about, I think that's one of the reasons we didn't anticipate our sides, because preschool was just such an easy transition.
Mm-hmm. And while it's a good thing, like we're excited and we're thankful that she acclimated so quickly, and she's never really had a problem making friends, because I think it's just her heart, that's her nature is just loving. She's empathetic. She loves to talk to everybody, and she always wants to help. And so naturally, I didn't think it would be an issue with her, but I would be lying if I said I was a little caught off guard by how quickly it happened.
Yeah.
And then back to you went from mom, like needing mom for everything, to like, no, mom, I got this, or the second or third day from school.
Second day,
what happened
the first day we got to walk her in.
Yeah.
The second day we had to drop her off in the carpool line, and she got out of the car. And the teacher said, hey, are you in kindergarten? She said, yeah. And they said, well, we'll walk you to class. She goes, nah, I got it. And I was like, okay. And I lost my mind again.
So, yeah, it's a great thing. I mean, Lainey was in school for 3 weeks, had her birthday party, and invited 7 friends from school. And they all showed up.
Yeah,
and that was incredible to see. But it just, I would be lying if I said I didn't really anticipate that happening so quickly. Yeah. And it caused us to kind of reevaluate and just readjust again to, man, our little girl's growing up. She truly is. And I would say, out of all the first 3 things that we talked about, when dealing with kindergarten, because yes, she was in preschool, but the thing that I walked away from this was that it was truly an end of a phase.
Yeah.
The first 5.5, 6 years that we spent, she was with us, with you every day, and we just have to trust and believe that the things that we've instilled with her, the moments and the memories we've created, the values that we've taught her, that's going to be enough to sustain her in this next phase. But it was very eye-opening and heart-wrenching to understand it and let it process that that's the end of a phase. Like, that time is over.
Yeah. So I think that would bounce us to number 4.
Yeah.
Is we did not anticipate what our weekends and our evenings would look like. Those times became much more precious for us because we get from about 3:45 until 7:30 or 8 with our little girl. So for us, we wanted to make that as valuable as possible. Yeah. So dinners became very, very family oriented again.
Yeah, sure. And I would say that we have always, both of us, when we got married and had kids, decided this is going to be something we protect always. And we've always done a pretty good job of that. But where in the previous we would have some flexibility, or we're just going to kind of be lazy, or I'm going to do my thing and you're going to do your thing, probably more than we would like to admit. The reality was when we realized that we'd only get 3-4 hours max a night. It changed for sure.
And for the school she's going to, she does have homework,
right? Because
it's a very strenuous day and curriculum, and so for us, maybe it's only about 3 hours. So we've got dinner, and then we have some very strategic things, like she'll come home and maybe want to make a bracelet with you, or play babies with me, or just play superheroes with her brothers. But on the weekends, we've really found that they enjoy each other so much better, which we definitely didn't anticipate that.
Right.
So our weekends are so much more intentional. Our evenings are so much more intentional, and we want to make sure that we hear that, we see that, and we pick up on that so that we don't miss it.
Yeah. So for those of you that don't know, Brooke and I are both on staff in the family ministry department at our church, and we use a curriculum called Orange. And Orange believes in 2 things: that the love of the home and the light of the church together can influence and change a child's life. And so we use that in our church, and we use a lot of their resources that they send home to help communicate and love on our kids. And the thing that they preach all the time is, hey, this is just a phase, so don't miss it.
Yeah.
And here are a few things that we did to do that, and that we've really reevaluated and tried to make sure we're intentional. And the first one is this: is every single week we have at least one family night. I like to joke and call it the OFC, the Overton Family Conference, because I'm in ministry. Someone asked me to do something, and I can't. I'm at a conference this week, and I'm at the OFC. But really, I'm just blocking off some intentional time to be with my family, because there's some days where my window of time with Lainey and the kids and Brooke is even smaller because of an afternoon meeting or an event. So I really have to be intentional about guarding that. And so that's one thing that we definitely have done over the past couple of years, and have brought back up to make sure that we're intentional.
So from a mom's perspective, I've made sure that I try to ask the right questions from the start. Hey, what kind of friends are you making? What are you doing to be kind? Not just from the start of kindergarten, but from the start of when she began talking.
Yeah.
And maybe even a little bit before. What did you learn today? And just trying to figure out the right questions to ask so that the relationship can be built, so that we can always have a good flow of communication. Not that I'm trying to make my daughter my best friend right now, but that I'm trying to make a flow of communication so that she can always come to me first, and not her friends come to Josh and I, and be able to have that relationship that she can trust us as parents and not her teacher. And of course I want her to trust her teacher, but I want her to be able to conversate with us first. And so we have to trust that in that first phase we instilled those values of communication, of integrity, of kindness, so that where she is now, she is in a good place.
So good. All right, so there are 4 things that we did not anticipate when our daughter started kindergarten. And I hope if you're watching this, if you have a child that is about to go into kindergarten, or in a couple of years that's going to be part of your family's transition, that this will be helpful for you.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, just make sure that you don't miss it. Make sure you're there for your spouse. Push, even when they're pushing you back, continue to pursue their heart.
Yeah.
When you have that time with your children, protect it. Be intentional. Don't be strategic. Just be intentional.
Yeah.
And it's just a phase, so don't miss it.
Yeah.
All right, we'll see you guys next week. What's been your favorite part about kindergarten?
Recess.
You met some friends at school?
Yes, a lot.
Have you met any boys at school?
No,
Done
I
any-
don't like any boys.
Good.
Good.
Keep it that way.
Yes.
So, what part of kindergarten do you not like?
I don't like this part yesterday when we had to do words.
Words. Words stress her out just a little bit.
Show everybody how you sound words out. So let's say cat.
No,
Cat.
I'm gonna do something else.
Okay, do a different word. Mom. Okay, do mom.
Mom.
Wow, girl.